All right, so it looks like our number has pretty much stabilized. There'll still be, I'm sure, a few people coming in. No different than people walking in the back of the room once we get underway. I'd like to welcome you to Penn State and to the Accepted Students Program presentation for the Division of Undergraduate Studies. My name is Jeff Warner. I'm the Associate Director of the Division of Undergraduate Studies. It's great to have you here today. We're going to have a good presentation, good conversation, opportunities for questions and answers. I'm joined today by one of our students here in DUS. I'm going to let her go ahead and introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Caitlin Miller. I'm currently a sophomore here at Penn State, and I am on the Division of Undergraduate Studies Leadership Council. I am majoring in biotechnology, and I'm also going to get my master's through an integrated program, and I am minoring in Spanish. So it's nice to be with you guys today.
Thanks, Caitlin. And it is good to have you all here. Our goals, we have about four or five things that we really want to do. We first want to let you know what is DUS and a little bit about who our students are and why we think DUS is a great place to start. We want you to know about how we're going to work with you when you come to Penn State and what the opportunities are going to be for you to get involved, how to explore, and then like I said, we have a few sort of questions that we know always get asked, so we'll answer those and go over those, but then we will open up the floor and make sure that there's time for you to ask questions of us as well. And then when we finish, there'll be a little bit of time for you to take a short break before your next session, which will be another admission session where they're going to answer additional questions, all the types of things that you could possibly think about that you want to know about Penn State that you need to get answered as we're approaching that May 1st accept date. So, who are our students in the Division of Undergraduate Studies? Our students really, they're all exploratory in some fashion, but there's sort of a spectrum from students who are very exploratory to those who are less exploratory. We have some students who come in, maybe you really want to go to Penn State, but you don't know where it is that what you want to major in yet, or what college you want to be in. DUS is a great place for you to start and to explore because you may not have potential majors of interest yet, or maybe you just have a few ideas of things that you might like, or maybe you have many majors of interest, and you're really, 10, 12, 15 different ideas of things that you might do. Our DUS advisors are great at helping you work that list and think about it and think about what are the things that you like. And just as importantly, what are the things that you don't like and you don't enjoy? We're going to ask a lot of questions during our meetings when we meet with you and our advising staff. And we're going to have lots of questions. You're going to answer them. We're going to build a relationship. And our goal is to help you think about what it is out of all those majors that you might be thinking about, start to narrow that down. Many of you might be sort of in that middle ground where maybe you already have 2 or 3 majors in mind, but you're not sure which one is the right major for you. Students like you, we're going to have the similar types of conversations, but instead of having to start great big, we're going to start a little narrower. We're going to start comparing specific majors. We might look at them and see, well, what are the types of things that we can do that allow you to keep all of these options open, and while you still continue to think about what it is that you might major in. We'll help you design a schedule. We'll help you get involved with the various co-curricular and extracurricular activities that are available to help you to really become well-rounded as a student. Now, there's so much more about being a student at Penn State than just being in the classroom. And we want to make sure that you're taking advantage of all that. We're going to help you explore. We're going to help you figure out what it is that you really like. Where is your passion? So that when you finish with us, you're going to be ready to move into that program. Some of you are towards the right side of that spectrum. You're less exploratory. Maybe you think you know what it is that you want already. And maybe you're, all your interests are in one college. What I'm going to say to you is we're going to challenge you. We're going to ask questions, pointed questions, to sort of reaffirm that that's what you want to do. And it may very well be that you'll think about it and you'll say, absolutely, I came in thinking I was going to do this, and we've talked about it, and I still know I want to do this. But there are, when you look at all the majors and the options at Penn State, there's over 275 different choices. I guarantee even those of you that think you know what you want to do don't know what all those possibilities are at Penn State. So our job is to make sure that you understand what those possibilities are. We might suggest something else that maybe you're describing something and it fits okay, it fits pretty well, but there might be something that fits even better, that's a better match. So we're going to help you think about that and really analyze, think about what it is. And so that's the big part of what we're going to be thinking about in terms of all the different types of students that we see. And we see students all across the spectrum every time that a new class of students come into us. And so no matter where you are, we're really going to help you explore, think about what it is that you want to do, and start preparing for that as you move forward, because we want you to be successful, obviously, whenever you move out of the US. Caitlin, do you have any things that you want to say about that process?
Yeah, I figured I would just share my experience a little bit. So when I entered DUS my freshman year, I would probably say that I was somewhat exploratory. I was debating between, I think, four different majors within two different colleges. Um, they were all kind of science related, but they definitely had some different aspects about them. So DUS really helped me explore each of those and give them the time that it deserved to explore.
Great, thanks, Caitlin. And what Caitlin said is really important. We want to give you the time and the space that you need to explore. We're going to help you do that. We're going to give you some, we might ask you to do a little bit of homework, right? We might ask you to come back with some answers to some questions. It's going to be very much an interactive experience. We want you to, like I said, build a relationship with us. We're going to get to know you. We want you to get to know us. And who are we in DUS? There's a picture of all of our advisors. So when you start in DUS, one of these people is going to be your academic advisor. We all have all sorts of different backgrounds, but we're all professional advisors. That's our unit is all about advising. And so everybody who works with us, that's their job, is they're an advisor. All students who start in the US is going to have one of these people assigned as their advisor. And you're going to work with that advisor to really create a plan for yourself that makes the most sense to allow you to explore, that's going to allow you to start to pursue what are the possible interests that you might want to do, what are the things that you'd like. And then we also have connections with every college at the university so that we're able to keep you up to date on all the new college information that comes out. If there are any updates in curriculum, we know about them right away. We'll be able to help you think about what it is that you have to do in order to move into that program. And we're also going to help get you there when it's that time to actually declare. We're going to make sure that you know what you have to do to actually declare your major and move into a college. And so that's very much, kind of what we do here in DUS. And I should mention, I didn't mention this at the start, if you do have questions, feel free to use the question and answer box. You can type in your questions. I'll do my best actually to answer them as we go along if I can, or I may say we're going to cover it, but if you do have something you want to ask, feel free to type it right into the question and answer box. Advising in college is different than what the closest comparison in high school would be, is a guidance counselor. And the biggest difference is that in high school, that guidance counselor is really taking responsibility. They're going to schedule and lead your appointment. They might ask you, say, hey, you need to come in and think about that. They're going to really select your courses. You have an opportunity to when you're in high school, you could say, oh, I wanted to take this and this, but they're going to put them in at the times that the high school knows when certain classes are being taught. They have a big schedule. The counselor is going to be assisting you both with academic issues and also personal issues. So if you have any personal issues, you go to see your guidance counselor. And on average, again, it's not perfect. Some of you probably met with your counselor more, but I'd say most students typically meet with their counselor probably at most once per semester. Many of you may not have met with your counselor. The counselor really takes responsibility for that relationship. It's very different in college. First of all, you're going to schedule and lead those appointments. So all of you, when you get your assigned advisor, will be able to go into a program that we use here at Penn State called Starfish. And in Starfish, you can actually see your advisor's schedule, see where their appointment slots are open, and put yourself right into their calendar so that you know that you have an opportunity to meet with them at a time that's convenient for you. All of our advisors have appointments that are both in person and online. So if you're here and you want to come meet with us, we encourage you to do that. We're happy to see you. But if you know that you're going to be, in your room, or you're not going to be able to make it to our building on a certain day, maybe for some reason, the way your class schedule is, and you just want to squeeze in an appointment that's remote, we can do that too. You're going to select and enroll in your classes yourself. We're going to guide you with that. We're going to answer questions. We're going to help suggest certain things that we think might be good given your interests, but it's ultimately your responsibility to both pick which classes you're going to want to take and also what times and days you want to have those classes. You're going to have to put yourself and create your schedule yourself. Our advisors are fantastic at answering academic questions, but we also know that Penn State has all sorts of resources for all sorts of other things. And so we're going to make referrals to other support offices as needed, whether that be counseling and psychological services, whether that be student disability resources, whether that be Penn State Learning, which has tutoring and other types of assistance. We're going to make sure that we get you in touch with the right person. And that's going to be part of what we do too. We know what all these resources are. And that last one, you meet with the advisor as much as you need. So because you have access to the schedule and you can make that appointment, If you need to meet with an advisor twice in 2 weeks, then you just find 2 appointment slots and you put yourself into them. If you want to meet with this, 5 times a semester, that's fine. We recommend really that it's ideal to meet with your advisor. We recommend at least twice a semester, certainly at minimum once, but really twice. Once to probably have a conversation about how things are going. And then we encourage another one to really sit down and think about what it is that you're planning for your upcoming schedule at a minimum. But we do so much more than that. And so we're able to answer lots of other questions. You're going to take responsibility and you're going to collaborate with the advisor. So that becomes very much student-led, student-controlled. And when you come in, the first thing that an advisor is always going to ask you is, what is it that you want to talk about? What are the questions that you have? We always want to make sure that we're answering and helping you with what you want to think about. So we did get 2 questions. First question, when do freshmen register for their fall classes? First year students are going to register for their fall classes during new student orientation. Once you accept your offer of admission, you're going to be asked to select a new student orientation date. And then during that new student orientation, which is a 2-day event, you stay overnight and you will actually register for your classes during the 2nd day of the new student orientation. And then do you transfer out of DUS when you choose your major? Eventually, you're going to move into a college. It depends on what major that is, when that can happen. Certain majors have different key points about when they can move into their college or when they can move into their major. Caitlin, when did you actually declare your biotechnology major?
This past fall, so fall of my sophomore year.
All right. So in general, all majors at Penn State, we'll talk about this in a little more detail. Almost everything at Penn State, you have to be in at least your 3rd semester to declare the major. Some of them, you actually have to be a little bit further along. You have to maybe be in your 4th semester, and there's certain rules, but that's kind of, once you have declared your major, you will move out of DUS and into that college. You're not going to ever graduate from DUS. We can help you. You'll be with us for up to 2 years, and then you're going to move into your program. And what your classes are going to look like in the first year, Amanda, are going to be extraordinarily dependent on what it is that your interests are. Your first semester schedule may look completely different from your best friends if you have very different things that you're interested in. Somebody who comes in and says, I'm interested in engineering or meteorology or food science is going to have a very different first schedule than somebody who comes in and says, well, I'm looking at management or history or biobehavioral health. So it's hard to say what your classes are going to look like. Most students are going to have about 5 classes, usually around 15 credits in their first year. And most classes are, not all classes, most classes are 3 credits. All right. So we want you to help keep your options open. We consider, like I said already, we consider everybody to be exploratory, and we're really going to work with you to kind of gauge that interest, help you explore, and help you change that, what am I doing or where am I thinking about? And we're going to help you to confirm that interest and really select a major in a program that's going to be the best fit for you and really matches your passion. As I said before, you're going to have up to 4 semesters that you can be in the Division of Undergraduate Studies. And during that time, we're going to be working with you throughout. We're going to start, again, at the beginning, thinking about what are your interests, or maybe what majors you might be interested in. We're going to narrow that down. We're going to confirm that. We're going to make sure that you're meeting the requirements that you have to do in order to get into your program. And that'll be all part of what we do. And like I said, we're also helping you with other things as well. Because our students can go from the Division of Undergraduate Studies into any college at the university, we have access, and our students have access to courses across all those colleges as well. So as you're starting to prepare for whatever major it is that you need, the preparatory courses, the early courses in a program that you need to take to make sure that you're making progress, DUS students get access to those courses. And so we'll make sure that you're on track. Our students are graduating at the exact same rates, and 4-year graduation rate is exactly the same as the rest of the population of the university. And so our students aren't getting held back. They're not taking longer to graduate. It is truly exactly the same. And so our students, we're making sure that we're working with them carefully. We're going to help you to proceed towards your graduation. Even though you're exploratory, we're going to help you to do so in a way that makes sure you're continuing to make progress towards your degree. We also have access to advising in many colleges. So we are great at helping you with lots of questions, and we're able to think about all the different majors, and we're able to use the resources to look them all up, because I can guarantee you, I can't sit here and name what all 275 of those options and majors and options are at the university. But I also know exactly where to look them up and how to use the resources. And so we also have connections to people in all the colleges that you want to learn more about communications. We're going to be able to connect you with somebody in communications to specifically have a conversation if that's what you want to do, or somebody in agricultural sciences, or somebody in Everly College of Science, like where Caitlin is heading. We're going to have the right people that we can connect you with and make sure that you really get the that advising that you need, both from us, and then if we need additional, we'll help you get in touch with the right person. Jacob asks, are there any majors that you can't get into if you weren't accepted directly into it as a freshman? The only major at Penn State that at University Park that you cannot get into if you were not accepted directly into it as a freshman is nursing. If you wanted to do nursing, you could actually still do it at Penn State. You just can't do it at University Park if you were not starting there in the College of Nursing. Everything else at the university is open to you. You're able to get into it. And the nice thing is our DUS students are considered in the exact same way as all other students. You're going to be able to take the same courses. You're going to have the same requirements to declare the major. It's not going to be any different if you had started in the College of Engineering or the College of Communications or the College of Earth and Mineral Sciences. Almost all students at Penn State are what are considered pre-major students. And so we're all of you are on the same level, despite the fact that you're in a different location. You're still going to have requirements that you have to meet to get into majors. So how are some ways that you can explore? We emphasize exploration, and advisors are going to talk to you about all of this. One of the first things and most important things we say is to use the Penn State Bulletin. The Bulletin, which is a resource that's the university's catalog of all the majors, all the classes that could be taught. They're not all taught every semester, but they're on the books as being available. It lists what those are. It lists what you have to do to complete each program. It gives a suggested plan of what your schedule might look like. It probably won't be exactly the same. It's highly unlikely to be exactly the same because you're all different, but it still gives a suggested plan of, if you do it this way, it's going to be close. And if you move things around, as long as we're making smart switches, we can make that work. That bulletin is a fantastic resource also to research, different programs. You can search by your interests and through the bulletin and learn about all the different majors and options that Penn State has. It's a great way to learn more. I encourage you to read about some of the upper level course descriptions. So you're flipping through and you find, let's say you find political science major, and you think you know what it is, but you start reading it, you read about it, it tells a little bit about it in that bulletin. You can click right on the courses and it's going to tell you what the courses are. Well, pick something that's high level. Penn State, the upper level courses are 300 level, 400 level courses. And click on the course. Does this sound interesting? You may not know all the things about it yet. You may not know what all the details, but if those things that are being talked about sound like they might be interesting to you, that's a good sign. Maybe you want to learn more about it. Maybe it's something we should keep open as a possibility. You can sit in on lectures in a relevant course. This is particularly true in some of the larger courses at Penn State. There are many courses where there are a lot of people at Penn State. Not all of them. There are also many very small courses at Penn State. But, especially with the large courses, if you came into that course just to sit and see what it's like, nobody's going to know you're there, that you shouldn't be in the class. You can learn about what's going on. If it's a smaller class and you want to sit in, email the instructor and say, hey, I'd love to come and sit in on your biology 422 class, pick, whatever it is. Could I sit in for the day? And it's very likely that as long as they don't have anything special going on, they're probably going to say yes, and if they have space in the room. Again, great way to learn about it. Does this seem interesting to me? You might not know what they're talking about, but if you'll see the types of things that they're doing, you're going to get a feel of what the culture of that college and that program's like. And talk to the faculty during their office hours. That's a great way to meet people. That if you have a class that you like and you want to get to know a little bit more about that program, every faculty of every class has office hours. Go in and talk with them and say, hey, I really like this engineering science course or this history course. Can you tell me a little bit more about what it is that you do? Great way to learn, because the faculty are there because they want to tell you all about what you're doing. There's things outside of academics as well that you could take part in. You can go to different clubs and student organizations. You've probably heard this already. There are over 1,000 different clubs and organizations at Penn State. They're not all active, but many, many are. We can connect you with those. We can help you find the right classes or the right clubs and organizations to join to learn more about different programs in an informal setting. First-year students can get involved in research right off the bat. We can connect you again with if you know that you make a decision early that you know that you want to do biotechnology like Caitlin or something else, we can connect you with the right people so that you might be able to have an opportunity to be researching that right away. We also can help you think about study abroad. You might not do that at the start. Most students don't usually study abroad in their very first semester or first year, but that's something we can start planning for, thinking about what is it that you want to do? Where would you like to go? What might you want to do? Penn State has lots of different types of study abroad programs. We have traditional ones. Most of you probably think of, I'm going to be gone for a semester. But there are also some that are called embedded study abroad, where a specific class may take a week and they may go somewhere during the semester. A lot of times, for example, in the spring, they'll go over spring break, or in the winter, they'll go over the fall break around the Thanksgiving holiday. And you'll go somewhere for 9 or 10 days, and then you'll come back and you'll finish your class. So that study abroad is embedded within the course. So there's lots of different ways to do that. And then, of course, things like internships and apprenticeships and other things like that that are always available to our students. Another great way for you to explore. And it's, again, confirming, do I like this? Is this something I'm interested in? Even if you don't like it, that's okay. You're getting something out of it. You're learning transferable skills. We want you to really become a well-rounded student, and that's important to us while you're here at Penn State. All right, Caitlin, I've talked a little long now, so I'm going to let you talk and be quiet for a few minutes.
Yeah, so during my exploration in my time at DUS, the bulletin was my best friend. I used that religiously to look into all the different majors and did other research into the majors as well. I was also able to meet with advisors from both of the colleges that I was interested in. And then outside of the classroom, I also am involved in a club called the Society for Industrial Biotechnology. And through that club, I've gotten to tour a fermentation facility and go to Zoom meetings with different companies that are involved in pharmaceuticals and stuff like that. And I also joined the Spanish club here my freshman year, and that kind of also helped me determine my minor as well. So I did a lot of different kinds of exploring throughout my time in DUS.
Thanks, Caitlin. And Caitlin's experience is very typical of our students. You know, they find you don't necessarily need to join 10, 11, 12 clubs, but they find a couple that are meaningful to them and important and that they like. And you might be in maybe 3 or 4 at the start, and maybe that becomes 1 or 2 that you're really, really involved in. It's kind of like, you know, thinking about majors. You might start with a lot. The university will have a, I can't remember what, activity fair. I was drawing a blank there at the start of the semester, where you'll go and not every club is there, but there are tons of clubs there, and they're all going to have information for you to get and to sign up to get on their mailing listservs. And you're going to sign up for these things. You'll be getting emails from all these different groups about when they meet and what they're going to do and their activities. And then you can decide which ones really make the most sense for you. But it is a great way for you to explore outside the classroom. We also have some experiences within DUS as well that allow you to get involved. Caitlin mentioned she's a member of our DUS Leadership Council. Our DUS Leadership Council will select new students who are rising sophomores every year. So you'll come in your first year, and then we're going to nominate students, or you may ask and say, I'd love to do this. We'll nominate you, and then we'll make a selection of a council of several students. And it's not tiny, it's not huge, but it's not tiny. Of students that are going to really represent DUS at different events. Things like this, where they come and they offer some experiences and share with us. They're going to help with peer mentoring during our heaviest registration times of the year. They may be down in our lobby helping students if they have trouble getting into the systems we're used to schedule, or show them how to do certain things like that. They're going to help out at our dean's meeting, our academic welcome event that we have at the start of each semester, that all of our students who are new to DUS will come, and our leadership council students will be there. We also offer an academic peer mentor program, where some of our students who really want to help their colleagues, their peers, who maybe are struggling a little bit academically, or they're having difficulty with transitioning into the university, they will actually go through a couple of classes where they're going to get trained on how to really work with students, help students out, and then they're going to become peer mentors for their colleague students who are going to then need assistance, and then they're going to work together. And it has proven time and time again to really be beneficial for all the students, both the mentors and the mentees, get a whole lot out of this, and they have an opportunity to really solve some of these academic challenges that are there. And so it's another great opportunity, and there's a couple pictures of the different groups there. We also have our DUS Engaged Scholars Program, which is transition-based, and it's really focused on success of first-year students from some marginalized communities. We do lots of things based on community building, leadership development, peer support. We're going to help connect you with the different groups and different units at Penn State that are going to help you to become, make sure that we're easing that transition for you. We're going to talk a lot about exploration, intentionally engaging, and making sure that we do things that are designed to really help students who are in the Engaged Scholars Program and who join to become acclimated to Penn State and transition successfully into the Penn State community, the larger Penn State community. So this is another group that we sponsor here in DUS. It's just another one of our groups. I know somebody before asked a little bit about moving into colleges, and so all students at Penn State, like I said before, start in a college, not in a major. There's only a couple majors at the university where you start right in the program, and those are typically ones that you have had to audition for. So for example, if you were doing musical theater, you may have had to audition ahead of time, and you will be put, because you've already demonstrated talent, they'll put you right into the major. That's not to say you can't get into that. You can also join it through other means, but there are a couple, but that is literally about 1% of the students at the university. The vast majority of students start in a college in a pre-major status. And like I said before, the nice thing about this pre-major is that all students have specific requirements that they have to do to get into majors. And this includes all of our DUS students. And it's no different if you were a pre-major student in engineering or a DUS student and wanted to get into mechanical engineering, you would have to meet the exact same requirements in order to actually get into the major. Same thing with our College of Business or some majors in communications or liberal arts. Whatever the requirements are to get in are the same regardless of what unit it is that you've started at Penn State. The advantage of being in DUS is that you can get into any of those colleges' programs. If you were a student who was in, for example, engineering pre-major, you could get into the engineering programs, but you might not be able to go straight into a business program. You'd actually have to come into DUS to make that transition and then go into a business program. So those are, that's how that process works. All majors have specific requirements. They can include a GPA requirement. The vast majority of majors at Penn State have a 2.0 requirement to get in, but some have a slightly higher requirement. You may have to do some sort of a talent review, or you may have to apply. So again, if you were a DUS student and you wanted to go into musical theater or the music program, for example, is another one, or some of the fine arts, these are very common. You have to produce a portfolio, or you're going to have to do an audition, some sort of talent review to get into that. You may have certain classes that you will have to complete while you're in DUS in order to become eligible for a major. And then they also sometimes have a specific number of credits that you have to have completed. So they want to say, okay, we want to see that you're doing well, and you're doing well for a certain amount of time. So they may say you can't declare this major until you have completed at least 36 credits at Penn State, but you have to declare it before you have 60 credits done. Your advisor is going to have all of this information. You don't need to worry yourself about it right now. We're going to go over these with you. If you say you want a major that has very specific requirements or the very general requirements, whatever those requirements are, we're going to do that. That's part of what we do and part of how we're going to think about and plan for moving into the majors. And so that's something that's important to think about, important to know. Caitlin, you want to talk a little bit about that process?
Yeah, so for me, I knew that I was ready to move into my major because I had been taking some classes that were entry-level classes that I needed to be in that major, and they weren't too bad. And I also, like I said before, I did a lot of my own personal research and talking to people. Excuse me, sorry. And I was able to kind of make pros and cons about each of the different majors and like where I might end up with those majors. And through all of that, I was able to decide on biotechnology. And yeah, I think I made the right choice. So
One thing I wanted to talk about, Caitlin, I know we often get questions about it. You mentioned you're doing the integrated undergrad program. So you want to explain a little bit to people what that means? Because it's not available for every major, but there are certainly some at the university.
Yeah, of course. So I just recently applied to this program, and it is something that you have to apply to. I had to meet certain requirements based on credits and GPA. Um, and basically, this integrated program allows me to complete my bachelor's degree and my master's degree. And for this program, they're both in biotechnology. Um, in a shorter amount of time than usual. So my program in particular is a 5-year program. I'm actually finishing early, but um, it's generally a 5-year program. And it's a really good option if you know you want to go to graduate school, because you do get done quicker, and getting done quicker means less money spent. So that's always good.
It is. It's a great opportunity. Like I said, it's not available for every major, but if it's something that's interesting, sounds of interest to you, again, talk to your advisor when you get here. Start with us, and when you start talking about the majors that you're interested in, we'll let you know. Is that a possibility? Because there are many majors. It's just not every single major at the university that does have that option. So that's very dependent upon which program you're looking at. All right. So Caitlin and I have talked a little bit, but we want you to hear a little bit from some of our other students as well. And so we should have this short video for highlighting some of our students and some of the things that they do when they come through DUS.
I'm really confident in what I want to do, and it might have taken me a lot longer to get there had I not gone through DUS.
DUS made the transition from high school to college much easier. For example, I knew kind of coming into college what I wanted to do, but DUS told me that even though you know what you want to do in DUS, you're still allowed to explore other opportunities.
It provides a different level of security. It really allows you to be able to know that this is where I'm supposed to be. DUS helped me feel much more comfortable here at Penn State.
My major now is security and risk analysis within the College of IST.
I transferred into Everly actually a couple weeks ago.
I'm a biobehavioral health major and a theater minor.
I'm a corporate innovation and entrepreneurship major, and that's in the Smale College of Business. I'm glad that I did find DUS so that I know right now that I'm on the right path, because I definitely wouldn't have ended up here if I hadn't been in DUS.
Well, I don't want to do that. I'll have somewhere buried in YouTube. That's the last slide, so we'll just stop the share anyways. That's the last slide anyways. I must have clicked on the thing instead of going to the next slide. So, as I said, we want to make sure that we allow for questions and answers. So the question and answer box is open. Ask something. You can ask something to me. You can ask something to Caitlin. Both of us are happy to answer this. It really, these are always really helpful. I always get some great questions. And if I think of something, it usually triggers something else that I want to talk about. All right. So do DUS students all live together? Caitlin, you want to take that one?
Sure. So no, not all DUS students live together. I do believe, does DUS have a floor in a building that you
We
can?
did. So we're not going to have it this year,
Oh,
unfortunately.
you're not anymore?
No,
Okay,
that's
never
that's
mind.
going away, unfortunately. There did used to be one, but that's not something that's going to continue this year.
Yeah, so no, the short answer is no.
Yeah, they're scattered across all different units, all the different living areas across the university. There'll be DUS students. In fact, we will have about, probably when all is said and done, probably about 2,200 students in DUS. So it'll be about 1/4 of the starting class here at University Park, roughly, will be actually starting in DUS. The College of Engineering and DUS are the two largest enrollment units for first-year students at Penn State, and they live all over the campus. Other questions that you might have, again, feel free to just type it right in and we'll get to it as soon as we see them pop up. I know one thing that we often get are questions about the timeline, a little bit more detail. So students who start in DUS, like I said in the presentation, you can be in DUS up to 2 years. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to make you stay with us 2 years. So if you come to us at orientation, for example, and you think that, at orientation, you said, I don't know if I want to do biology or civil engineering, or I'll use food science again, which are 3 different colleges: Ag Sciences, Everly College of Science, and College of Engineering. And then you come to us on the second or third or fourth day of classes, and it's been a couple months since orientation. You say, you know what? I know my interests now are all biology, chemistry, and biotechnology. And those are all in the Everly College of Science. We'll work with you to get into the College of Science as quickly as we can. You might not be in the major yet, but we can move into we have access, our students, to get into that pre-major status in all of the colleges across the university as well. So it may be that you're with us for the full 2 years. You may not be. It's very different. Again, your advisor is going to work with you to help make sure they make the right decision. All right. When do freshmen register for fall classes? Great question again. And the same is true. Some of you may be summer admits to the university as well. I know some students get admitted to start in the summer. All your first semester registration, be it summer or summer and fall, or just fall by itself, will be done during new student orientation. Once you accept your offer to Penn State, you'll be asked to select a date to attend new student orientation. You'll come to Penn State. That's a 2-day event. And on the second, you do a lot of community building, learning about the university, all sorts of different things. But on the second day, a big part of what you're doing is meeting with, in this case, DUS, and you'll work with our advisors to make your first schedule. And that's when you get your first classes. Are there advisors that may specialize in helping those students who are intent of going towards SMEAL? Great question. No is the short answer. All of our advisors have students on our roster who are interested in going to SMEAL. Again, we're all familiar with pretty much all the majors at the university. We don't specifically assign students to certain advisors based on their interests. So all of our advisors are able to help our students get to any program, including the majors in SMEAL. And so it doesn't matter which advisor you get assigned, we'll be able to help you if that's your goal to get there. How soon can you choose a major or declare an interest after starting at Penn State in the DUS program? Good question, Mia. The one slide in the presentation talked a little bit about the entrance to major requirements. All majors at Penn State, regardless of anything, have an absolute bare minimum of at least 29 credits completed that you have to do, and you have to have at least a 2.0 GPA. Some majors have additional things on top of that. They might have a higher GPA or more credits that you have to have. And so in order to do that, it might take you longer to declare your major, but we're going to help you with that regardless of what major it is. One of the things we're going to do is make sure that you're declaring at the time that's right and meets all the requirements. We're not going to let you, flounder in DUS. And if you think you're ready to move off and you don't want to be here anymore, we're going to help you get to the right place and get to it at the time that you're able to do so. So you don't need to worry about that you're in a bad spot being in DUS. We're really going to help you make sure that you're moving to that program that you want at whatever time that you want to be there. And we'll make sure that you do it on time as well, so that if you can't move, we'll get you in when it is the right point. Is there any opportunity to design your own major? There is a program at Penn State called Bachelor of Philosophy program. And that is really designed for students who have a very unique thing that they want to do that doesn't line up with any of our majors. Typically, it's cross major. It's going to be maybe related to 2 or 3 of our programs. That is actually run through DUS. That is actually the one way that you could actually be in DUS longer, even then you're officially in the major, but your advisor will remain a DUS advisor because we run that program. And then you also will have a faculty committee who helps you with people from the different programs. If that's something that interests you, you would want to let us know. You can let us know as soon as orientation when you come in and meet with your advisor. And then we can have a conversation with you about, is there a program that maybe you don't know about that fits what you want to do, or is this really the right thing for you to do? Lauren asks, are students often in 2 different colleges if they have different interest areas, or is that rare? Caitlin, you want to talk a little bit about that? Because you had some different interest areas when you got started that you said were in different colleges, right?
Yeah. So when I was here, I was definitely interested in science. Um, but there are like science majors in colleges other than the College of Science. So I was also interested in a couple majors from the College of Agriculture. Um, and so I think it's probably pretty common to have even a set interest area and still be between two different colleges. And that's totally normal. People also decide to double major sometimes if they're really interested in both two different colleges and like two different majors. So there's definitely a lot of options when it comes to that.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And that's a good point that there are absolutely programs across multiple colleges at Penn State. Many of the programs in the colleges at Penn State are there for historical reasons and no other reasons. So for example, all the College of Engineering has a whole slew of engineering programs, right? But Earth and Mineral Sciences actually also has 4 engineering programs. College of Agricultural Sciences co-owns biological engineering with the College of Engineering. They're there because the program started with a specific purpose. You know, in Earth and Mineral Sciences, for example, there's petroleum and natural gas engineering. They were looking at pulling, materials out of the earth. And so it ended up it was there for historical purposes. And so the structure of the university is such that there are very much things in different colleges. Smeal College of Business is a great example. Yeah, all the majors in Smeal are business, but there are also business majors in our College of Agricultural Sciences, College of Engineering, College of Earth and Mineral Sciences, College of Communications, College of Liberal Arts, and I'm not even naming all of them. I mean, there's almost all the major colleges at Penn State have at least one business or business related major, and so that's very much students are interested across colleges. Does NSO fall over the weekend or just weekdays? What is the general range for when this will happen? And do you have options for when you will attend if you have conflicts during the summer? So NSO will start, the very first NSO is I think May 22nd and 23rd. There will be 38 in-person NSOs throughout the summer. And so the bulk of them are in June and July. There are a few at the end of May, and there are a couple in August that are right before the semester starts for students that for whatever reason cannot make it for anything else. But you're really encouraged to come sometime in June or July. And so usually with that many options, people are able to find a choice that works for them. The only thing that's on the weekend is there are a couple, well, I shouldn't say there are a couple. There are some that the first day is a Sunday and the second day is a Monday. But there are none that involve Saturday. So the last day of the week for NSO is starting on Thursday, ending on Friday. There are no Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday NSOs. I was fortunate to have 3 dual enrollment classes that have an equivalent with Penn State classes. Since Penn State changes the tuition cost after a student is more than 50. Is it beneficial to wait to formally transfer these community colleges until after they've already completed 59 credits on campus? That's a great question. That's a pretty deep question. It's a good question. It depends on what you're going to use those credits for. But you're absolutely right. If you have taken credits and you're going to bring those credits into Penn State, then once you get to a certain credit point, you get past that 59 credit mark, you go to a higher tuition level. That's the way that Penn State works. They have a first 2 year and a second 2 year, basically, in terms of the number of credits completed. That'd be a great question to ask your advisor when you come, because they can help you figure out, do I need these credits for something specific for my major that I have to demonstrate proficiency or have a class to move forward? Or do I, when can I move them? When's the best time to move them in? In general, even though it doesn't always seem like it makes sense, it is general to get them moved in at the start, have them assessed by Penn State. Then you know what they're going to count as or count for, and then as you're planning your schedule, that really helps you to plan. And so, in most cases, I'm going to say that you're probably going to want to do those to start. One of the things you'll be asked to do as part of NSO is to provide any courses that you may have already completed, whether through a dual enrollment or some other means, AP, for example, IB, you're going to have those with you when you come to meet with your advisor. You get a choice for dates when you register. You get the choice of, depending on which NSO spots still have spaces. And then that obviously will impact the date that you register, since you register during NSO. Not all NSO registration began on April 1st. So some of the NSOs are already filling up with students who have signed up for them, who accepted their offer. But there are still many that are open and have plenty of seats available too. So yes, you're still going to have time to pick. You're not going to get assigned to a certain day. You will get a list of which ones have openings, and then you'll pick that NSO. I don't think we've seen anything about NSO. Who do we ask about this? So you should have gotten an email from the student orientation office if you've already accepted your offer of admission from Penn State. If you haven't, that office is the Student Orientation and Transition Program, or it's sotp.psu.edu. You can look them up online and go and contact them if you have not received anything. If you have applied, if you are just accepting your offer today, it will take a day or two before you do get that invitation. It won't take long, but there is a day or two turnaround before you will see the invitation come through your email to attend orientation and to select the orientation program. Is NSO mandatory? NSO is mandatory. It is required part of going to Penn State. All students have to attend an NSO session. It doesn't matter which one, but you do have to attend an NSO session. All right. Any other questions? Caitlin, do you have any other comments you would like to add before we wrap up?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. All right. So it looks like we have, at least the questions have slowed down, if not stopped. So what I'm going to do, we're going to stay here for at least a little bit longer until we see that the room is relatively empty. If you have a question you want to type in, as people are leaving, that's fine. We'll answer it. But your next session will begin again at 5:30. You should have a link to that session. It's through the admissions office about your NITNI and next steps. Do summer session students have to attend NSO? Yes, they do. They will actually have to attend an NSO that is in the first part before the summer session starts. So it will either be the end of May or during the first parts of June. They do have to attend NSO as well. But this wraps up the formal part. So thank you for coming and joining us. We're happy to have you here. Certainly hope you select Penn State. We'll be excited to see you this summer for orientation. I will be there working almost all of those orientation sessions along with my colleagues here. And so you may see me again whenever you come. And enjoy the rest of your accepted student program today at Penn State.
You're muted.
Thanks, Caitlin. If you end up
no
having
problem.
an NSO session later in the summer, it does impact, right? You want, if you can get as early as possible, it will benefit you because there will be more seats available in classes, more different times to pick from. Some of the sections do start to fill up. There's with 9,000 students coming to Penn State who are going to be first year students. We can't do them all at once. So there have to be multiple sessions to do that. And so the earlier that you can do your NSO, it will be beneficial. So I always encourage people, if you can, select the day as early as possible to come to NSO. Do you remember how early you came, Caitlin?
I don't remember, but I remember it was later than I wanted to. And I did actually have some classes that I wanted to fill up, and I did just like keep an eye on them because sometimes, a lot of times people will drop them. So if you don't get what you want, definitely keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, that's a great point, Caitlin. I would say that too. And we'll emphasize this when you come. The schedule you leave NSO with is just your first draft. your schedule is not actually locked in until the end of the first week of classes. So you can still, students are still moving their times around and dropping and adding courses and switching their schedules. If you're persistent, you will be able to get essentially the schedule that you want. Might not be the exact time you want your classes, but you will be able to almost certainly get the classes that you want. But still, the earlier you come, the easier it is to do earlier in the process. As a DUS student, how do I know what my math and or foreign language requirements will be? That's a great question. So when you come to orientation, well, first of all, you can always look it up in the bulletin. The bulletin will share what the requirements are expected for each program, for each major that you might be interested in. When you come to orientation, we're going to have the information provided to us. You're going to be asked to take what's called an ALEX math placement test before you come to orientation. And then we're also going to have information about what languages you did in high school. And that's going to form the basis for those two placements about what you're going to do moving on, along with what program you take. Not every major at Penn State requires a language. So you may be in a program that you don't have to take any world language. Similarly, not every program requires specific math classes. Many majors, like Caitlin's, require calculus. But there are many majors at Penn State that do not. And so you will not take calculus. You might take statistics class. You might take totally different math classes. So it's going to depend a lot on what majors you're interested in. And then also on those, again, if you want to continue with the language that you did in high school, or do you want to start a new language, they'll be help to decide how we're going to move forward with the foreign language. Interested in checking out the Aurora program? Do you know if it fills up quickly? That's a great question. I don't know how fast it fills up, but I do know it fills up typically relatively quickly. It's a pretty popular program. There are multiple versions of it, which help. But if that's something that you're interested in, it would be worth it, again, much like signing up for an early NSO, to get that requested and take care of that earlier rather than later. It's a great program. Anybody who's interested in, I mean, it's not everybody's cup of tea to go out into the wilderness and to hike for 7 days and camp, but if it's interesting, it's a great way to community build, get to know some people, meet them, and really get a unique start to Penn State. All right, so we just have another minute or two left for any last questions. But like I said, that sort of finishes up our formal part. Is there any way to request for Aurora earlier by talking with the folks who directly run it, in case we can only get NSO later in the summer? I think if you want the Aurora program, I'm going to look this up right now, actually, while we're talking. I think there is a way that you can request it earlier, but let me look up. I'm actually going to Leah or Lia, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm actually going to type right into that Q&A a link, and hopefully you see that link that I just typed in. If you look at the question and you see the answers to the link for where you can register for the Aurora program with more information. They'll be able to answer that for you better than I would, just because, I mean, I know what it is. I don't know the exact details about how early you can register. I hope you're able to get an answer. You can see that. Can you see that link? You want to type just a yes into the Q&A if you can get there. Excellent. So that should have all the answers I think that you'll need. Like I said, I know about it, but again, much like many of the resources at Penn State, we'd rather connect you right with the right person and the right unit to give you the specific answer. I don't want to give you a wrong answer. Or just my best guess. They will have the answers, and there's also contact information on that website too, to get in touch with them so that you can contact them. That's run through our Shavers Creek Environmental Center. So that's absolutely the best place to do that. All right, any other questions or comments or things we can help with? All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Caitlin. I hope you enjoyed it too. It was great to have you here with us. Thank you for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your accepted student program today at Penn State. Have a good evening.